All right, so now we're gonna get into a little philosophy, just a little bit, and then we're gonna build our constructor. So typically we make these variables private, and we put in getters and setters to get and set these variables. So it offers the layer of protection, okay? But some of you might be thinking, wait, if we don't make them private, we can access them from everywhere. Wouldn't that be better? And that's not a bad thought. In fact, some languages default to that. They say, all right, we don't do privates anymore. Because for every private variable, if you want to get and set it, you're adding these getter and setter functions, which is kind of the code pumping problem, right? You're just adding all these template functions, and it just gets silly, especially if it's something that it really doesn't matter what you set it to, it's going to be okay, right? For example, if you set center X to whatever value, processing will draw it at whatever value. It might not be on your screen, but it will draw it at whatever value, okay? So there's a thought here that, hey, maybe we should make everything public. Not in Java, though. So we're going to make these all private. And there's a good reason for that, too. If I'm a person creating a ball, I don't care what the insides of the ball look like. I don't care what your implementation is. All I care about is, can I draw it on the screen and does it act like the ball I want it to act like, right? If I set its velocity and set its initial position, will it bounce ad nauseum and do its thing, right? And if it does that, then I'm fine and I can move on to creating the rest of my game or something like that, okay? So, oh, something's in my eye. Power through, power through. I was off to such a good start. Oh. Okay, well, hold on. I like this. This is real. All right, we're done. That is definitely an eyelash on my eye. Oh, my God. Oh, wait, it's gone. We're good. We're back. This is the worst. I'm gonna go with it. We're back. It's all good. That's what life's about, people. It's not all edited video. So I'm gonna make these all private. It's the worst. We've hit a new low in video making. So these things are getting underlined when we make them private because we don't use them. The only place they can be used if they're private is in this class, and we don't use them in this class. So it's saying these things are unused. They won't be unused for long, don't worry. And private. All right. So we've made everything private. All right. So now we can't get it from out here. I don't know if processing, will processing allow me still to get it from out here? I wonder. Let's see. So my ball, so let's see if I make ball, my ball. Oh, I should probably save this. Maybe that would be a good idea. And let's say I save this. Okay. So now if I say ball, my ball, right? And then say my ball dot, it still says I can get them. Okay. So I don't know how good the IntelliSense is here. Or maybe it can, maybe it doesn't take privates into consideration. I don't remember. I remember there was something slightly weird about it, but we'll use private variables. It's okay. All right. So what are we going to do? How do we initialize these things? Well, we have to create a constructor. What's a constructor? Well, a constructor is a special method that has the same name as the class. Okay. And what it'll have is it'll have slots or parameters that you can pass in to set each one of these private variables to when you first create your ball, okay? What will that look like? Well, let's do an example. So remember, this allows us to set everything in the ball variable all at once. Just like when we create an integer variable, we would set all the values inside of that. So I'm gonna say ball, and it won't have a return value, but its return is a created ball in memory. Okay, so public ball, and my ball is going to have a center x. Okay, so we're gonna say center x, init center x, because we're in center x. That would be a good name for it. Initial center y, and I know these are long, but I want to make it real clear that these values being passed in are the initial values. So students get this mixed up all the time, and they think, oh, it has to be the same name, and you put this in front of one of them and that. Okay, we'll get into this. I think students just don't understand what's going on here. So these are slots where we can pass an integer into. Oh, and these are ints, by the way. Int. Let's see, what else? Init, velocity x, and init, velocity y, init, ellipse, init, ellipse width. I know it's long, but we'll only do this once, and then I'll start using shorter terms for this. Ellipse height. Okay, so the initial values of all these things. All right, and then what we're gonna do is we're going to pass in the values we want these things to start with. So in oh god, in main. Not main, I'm sorry. In our file, our file with setup in it, we could say my ball equals new ball. Okay, it knows how to make a ball, right? It says, okay, that's 24 bytes of memory. And now we can pass in values for init center x. So for init center x, I want to set it to width over 2, okay? And which will evaluate in this particular program to 200, right? And for init center y, we can do height over 2, and for init, our initial x velocity, we can do, we'll do 1, and our initial y velocity, we'll do -2 to make it go up, right? And then our initial ellipse width, I'll do 40, and initial ellipse height, I'll do 40, and good, okay. Now, right now, all this is done is these, for the run of this function, init center x will be set to width over 2, and init center y will be set to height over 2, and every, down the line. And these variables have not been set yet. So these are different variables, okay? And they have not been set yet. So once someone passes in a value for init center x, what we're going to do is we're going to copy it over to our center x, initializing center x, okay? So someone passed in a value for init center x. In this case, they passed in width over 2, all right, which will evaluate to 200. So it's essentially like we passed in 200. Okay, and then we're going to say center x equals init center x. Okay, all right. We're gonna do that for every single one of these variables. All right. So let's just do that. I'm trying to think. Should this be a question below? No. Well, we're just gonna do it. So center y equals init center y. Okay. Velocity x equals init velocity x. All right. And velocity y equals init velocity y. All right. And ellipse width equals init ellipse width. And ellipse height equals init ellipse height. All right. So our constructor has taken in 6 initial values, and we have set them equal to our private variables, initializing all of our private variables. So in this one statement, we created a ball in memory, new ball. It gave us 24 bytes, right? 6 times 4 is 24. 24 bytes. And then we passed in 200 for the first number, right? We passed in 300 for the second number, okay? 1 minus 2 and 40 and 40. And we came in here and it filled that in. So in memory, it just wrote those values in for center x, center y, velocity x, velocity y, ellipse width, and ellipse height. Okay? So pretty cool, all right? And so right now, our ball is a reference, we'll talk about what that means, is a reference to some memory, and that memory has 6 integers in it, and those integers are currently set to these values. Okay, so that's how we can initialize 6 integers in one foul swoop. All right. What we can also do is if we create another ball now and want to initialize those, I'm not going to do ball 1 and ball 2. It's just like too hard to. I'm going to call it big ball. Okay. And I'm going to say my ball, big ball, I'm sorry. Big ball equals new ball. And we will start it at width over 3, height over 3. So if you think width over 3, height over 3, it'll be closer to the top left, right? Top left. Yeah, I think that's right. Whatever. We'll find out soon enough, right? I'll make a start with x of 2 and y of 1. And since it's a big ball, right, I'm going to make it 60 by 60. So it's going to be a bigger ball, all right? We've just made 2 cookies out of this cookie cutter, all right? 2 instances. They have the same slots for variables. Both have, these properties, center x, center y, velocity x, velocity y, ellipse width, and ellipse height. But these are set to different values, okay? Just like 2 cookies might have the same shape, but be decorated differently. Or really, I can say humans, for the most part, have, a hair color, an eye color, and a brand of shoe that they're wearing if they're wearing shoes, for example. But as to what those things are, what the values of those things are, well, that varies from human to human. So I am an instance of a human. You are an instance of a human, okay? But we're both part of the human class, all right? My ball is an instance of a ball. Big ball is an instance of a ball, but they're both part of the ball class, meaning they got a center x, a center y, a width, a height, and a velocity x and velocity y. Hope that makes sense so far. We haven't drawn the ball yet or done any of the actions. We've just worked with the variable. I'll see you next video.